know they guesswork, we decline well. Build foundation, let the truth swell. We know donors and how them they move. Alignment steady, we they groove. Thank you to the speakers when they show. This movement go, they last forever. Together we ride, never say never. The funding formula, no confusion, just the method. The funding formula, no more hustle without results. The funding formula, vision go fly, we get support. The funding formula, Africa rise, we hold the fort. When the help the people rise, the further fail who will show us how to climb. The funding formula, we need to build and shine. The funding formula, time people they grind. The funding formula, who they help the people rise, the further fail who will show us how to climb. Funding formula, the funding formula, what we need to build and shine. The funding formula, yeah.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Fawaz, and I'll be your anchor for today. I'm so excited and thrilled to be here today. Well, the Further firm is a management consulting firm that exists to strengthen Africa's development ecosystem. So what do I mean? I mean that we support African-led nonprofits, social enterprises, and development institutions to grow stronger, structurally, financially, and strategically. That's what the Further firm is about. Well, we do this through resource mobilization support, institutional strengthening, and program design.
Bukola is a seasoned strategist, trainer, and business coach passionate about equipping entrepreneurs and institutions with tools to adapt, survive, and thrive. As the lead trainer at BFA Learning Field Limited, she designs and delivers high-impact programs on entrepreneurship, leadership, and business management for individuals, SMEs, corporate teams, and development institutions. She formerly served as managing director of Flexmore Technologies Limited, a bank-owned tech subsidiary, where she led innovation and sustainable business growth. Currently, she serves on the boards of 4 thriving companies, offering strategic direction and governance oversight. She is also a Central Bank Nigeria certified financial literacy trainer, a graduate of the School of Politics, Policy and Governance, SBPG, and a proud recipient of the Cochrane Fellowship, Iowa State University. In addition, she is a Vital Voices Fellow, an international business fellowship founded by Hillary Clinton. Her expertise in resource mobilization and donor engagement is grounded in experience. She has successfully managed international donor grants, notably as project director for the WIDB Digital Literacy Initiative for Women, ILO, and Microsoft, and currently serves as M&E manager for an EU-funded program, ensuring accountability, impact measurement, and effective fund utilization. She has also contributed to several donor-funded projects, taking lead roles in proposal writing, grant implementation, financial reporting, and stakeholder coordination. Bucky teaches not just theory but practical skills for attracting, managing, and sustaining donor funding with transparency and impact. Please welcome her to the final module of the funding formula, 1, as she delivers her session.
Okay. Good afternoon. I hope I can be heard. Can someone confirm to me? And everything is looking good at your end. All right. Okay, so I have my co-facilitator, the admin. We can hear you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I think I can have my slide up, right? I was looking at the countries that are represented, and honestly, I'm amazed. And I was trying to do a little bit of calculation that out of all these countries, how many have I been? Yes, I've been to Benin. Yes, Benin Republic. I've been to Uganda. I was there last year for a conference. I've been to Ghana. I've been to Kenya, and have been to South Africa. Yes, I've been to South Africa. I even visited, what's this place in South Africa where our Mandela was locked up, Robben Island. Yes. So I think the others, I'm taking the challenge The next place I really want to go is Rwanda. So I want to greet every one of you. And of course, to my Nigerians citizens, I greet you. And Victor, Fawaz, and Ebuka, you're doing great. I actually, when I met you, yes, when I asked you to send your proposals, I was in the first slide when they were introducing me as the country executive director for the Institute for National Transformation. So it was very, very, warm, yeah, to know that you actually have transformation in one of your core values. I guess probably that was what made me, to to gel with you, because honestly, what you're doing, you're just taking responsibility. You have identified a problem, and you're taking responsibility, and that's all we talk about at the Institute for National Transformation. We raise leaders to take responsibility. We raise leaders in their spheres of influence, to just take responsibility and just solve a problem. So with that, I want to start my lecture. Well, should it really be a lecture? I think it's just to share the thoughts. I know you've had sessions with Oyechi, Daniel, and of course, Femi Taiwo. So my 45 minutes just starts now. These are the modules you've taken. I actually thought that you still have module 5, but from what Fawaz said, you have done that, just to lay a background where we are coming from. All right, so question. What is that thing that comes to your mind when you hear grant implementation and management? Yes, I'm also looking at the comments. Yes, yes, yes. Good afternoon, good afternoon. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so what is that thing that comes to your mind when you hear grant implementation and management? I want you to share. I want you to share. I'm looking at the comments. Yep, yep, yep. Because you have actually been on this journey. At least you've had 4 sessions, if I'm right. So somewhere along the line, you must have gathered some thoughts, concerning this topic we are talking about. I can't see. Okay, yes, thank you. I can see Muhammad. Yes, you said yes, executing the project as proposed. Thank you. Yes, people are still greeting. Okay, can we stop the greetings? Thank you. I celebrate all of you. I think it's an internet, the internet gap. Okay, so thank you, thank you, thank you for your greeting. I receive it warmly. All right, okay, so that's fine. Yes, Tunde Tola says doing the project as proposed. Absolutely. Yes. Then I think I missed one. Adita says how to manage capital after funding. I think I missed someone executing. Okay, I had mentioned that. All right, so let's move on. Thank you very much for that. But keep it coming, keep it coming. So what are we going to do today? These are the session objectives. Yes, Sebastian, thank you. Thank you. I love that, translating your proposal into action. Yes. So what we're going to have today, the objectives, by the end of this session, you should be able to understand the key responsibilities associated with grant management, design and manage implementation plans aligned with budgets and timelines. You should be able to track deliverables, monitor results, and of course, report effectively. You must be able to set up financial accountability and compliance system and avoid pitfalls in your grant execution. All right, so we move on. Key focus areas. We will look at project and financial management basics, setting up grant tracking systems, budget execution and modifications. We will look at donor reporting requirements. We will also stop around monitoring and evaluation. You must have heard that I sit in that office in a particular grant that is going on, and is going to be on for the next 18 months. Yes, we started 6 months ago. Then risk management and compliance checks. All right, so let's move on to the journey. Now, before I actually start, it's good to actually wrap up, what they have done, the 4 people that had gone ahead of me. It's good to understand that grant is a life cycle. It's a cycle. You start, you finish, and then you start again, and then you finish, you start again. And of course, when you're doing this, there's a pre-award and there's a post-award. And in between this, you have all kinds of activities that has to be implemented. And when you are implementing it, each phase will have a team, you have compliance, you have structures, you have reports to generate, and all this has to be what? Managed. All right, so the first one, the first focus area, I was given focus area, so I would like to just skip that. Projects and financial management basics. So what we will be looking at, we'll be looking at the basic management things that you need to know. So we'll be looking at project goals, outcomes and outputs, implementation plans, timelines, budget structure, line items, and direct and indirect costs. So when we talk about project goals, I listened to Femi. He talked so much about your goals, right? So in a nutshell, that is that broad long-term change that you want to see. For instance, if you look at the example here, the goal of this project is what? To economically empower undeserved women in Oyo State through what? Digital literacy and entrepreneurship training. Then when you come to outcomes, so outcomes are those things you can measure. In my SPPG class, obviously, will always say, in God we trust, but every other thing, just bring data. I need the data. I need the statistics. So what are those measurable things? Don't just say some or many. I need to have the figures. What are you increasing by 10% or 60% or what it is? You must give me those measurable changes that your grant will give. All right, then in terms of output now, so output are now those things that are tangible, you can see. The number of women that have enrolled, for instance, right now, you had when they were talking about women in digital business, it's a grant. We've been on it for the past 2 years now. Well, right now, we're not even training women anymore. We've trained women. Now they have moved us to train trainers, and the trainers will now go and train women. So right now, we're doing their training of trainers right now. So we're saying that we want to pull how many trainers, right? We want to pull 100 trainers, and these 100 trainers will go and train 10 each minimum, and that's 1,000. So we're adding, to the pool. So you need to now tell us the outcomes of those grants. So this is just laying foundation of the basic things that need to be done. Now, so I move on to the second item, which will be developing implementation plans, your timelines, your roles, your milestones. These are big. They're big things if you have to manage the project. So when you talk about timeline, what are we actually saying? We're saying these are the activities that must happen, right? You can use basic Excel sheet. For instance, we don't even use app. We just use the Excel sheet and we give colors. We call it the work plan, and we give colors. For every event, we give a color. And when your deadline, you have missed your deadline and you have not submitted, we give you red so that you know that red is danger zone, And then if it's moving on, green, green means progress, we're moving on, so you can actually use that. And for some of us, that are in the project management team, you all never know what the Gantt chart is. And there's so many apps in there for project management and for grant management and things like that. Yeah, so when we talk about roles and responsibilities, we are saying that, okay, who is going to do what? Who is moving the files? who is training, who is administering, and things like that. And then the milestones. What are we saying when we talk about milestones? What major achievements will show progress? I am executing a project. I have an outcome. So what will make me know that I am moving towards that? For instance, I always like to use practical things. I'm moving from Lagos to Ibadan. What will make me know that I am on the right track? What are my milestones? Okay, when I get to Shagamu, for some of us that are in Nigeria who have actually traveled that corridor, you understand? When I get to Shagamu, I know that, okay, I'm close by. But if I fear off and I'm not going straight and I land at somewhere at Jebu or somewhere wherever it is, I know that I have missed the way. But that will tell me that, okay, once I begin to get to Guru Maharaj's camp, I know I'm getting close to Ibadan. So those are milestones that will make us to know that we are achieving progress. All right, so this is a sample implementation plan just to give you practical examples. I don't want to share what we do because we're under MOU, non-disclosure agreement, so I can only share, things that I mean we can pick, using the Excel sheet and things like that, but it's basic. So when you talk about implementation plan, so this is it. You recruit, who is responsible, when is the start date, when is the end date, and what is the milestone. I need to know. If I'm recruiting trainers, don't say, oh, I have recruited trainers. If you have said 5, then the milestone should be 5. If you have done 1 or 2, then I know you have only achieved 20% or 30% of that. So that keeps me going. So that's just an example that you can actually do as simple with Excel sheets. But like I said, there are apps that do that. So when you now come to milestones, okay, so this is another format. That's okay. This is bigger that you can actually see. And please, there's a key tip here. Your milestones must be measurable checkpoints. They should not be vague. Oh, we are moving, we are progressing. No, your milestones have to be what? Measurable checkpoints. All right, so in terms of budget, we all know what budget is, you understand? So, but when you talk about management, of your grant, you need to take care of these things. These are line items, but I want to talk about, there are 2 different costs. There is the indirect cost, there are the direct costs. The direct costs are those costs that it is because of the grant, the execution of the grant. That is why these people are here. So if your grant is, I want to train people, you are going to pay trainees fee, you're going to rent hall and everything that has to do with that training. It's your direct cost. But meanwhile, your indirect cost is that, even if you don't do the training, you still have salaries to pay, right? You still have bills to pay, NEPA, your business permits, you have your tax, and things like that. So those are your indirect costs. Those are the things that support the costs that keep the organization running, but they are not tied to one activity, right? So like I've mentioned that. So these are things that you would have to take note when you are managing, your grant. So we move to focus 2. I think when I'm done with 3, I think we have 6 focus areas. Then we can take questions. Okay, so we'll take questions after. All right, so focus 2 talks about what? Setting up grant tracking systems. We're talking about implementation and management, and you cannot manage something that you can't measure. So what are you managing if you cannot measure it? So these are some tools that you can use. As simple as the Google Sheet, the Excel. Yes, for those who do project management, the Asana. And then, of course, we also have, like I mentioned, grant management software. But we will look at some key elements here. Your work plan, your budget deliverables tracker, and then your reporting calendar. So let's look at what it looks like. However, I need to stop here to say, why must we track? You want to track because you want to ensure accountability. That money is not yours. Yes, you might say it's free, but the people who gave you that money, they are not going to collect interest from you, or they're not even going to collect equity or whatever it is. You know what they're going to collect from you? You're going to pay with impact. You will pay with impact. So you have to be accountable for them, to them rather. And then, of course, another reason why tracking matters is that it detects problems early. If I am supposed to move to Ibadan and I'm tracking you and I find out that you are somewhere at the NYC camp at Shagamu, I know you're not on your way. You have diverted. The reason why I use that because I've been there and I know that you have to divert somewhere at Shagamu. You're not going straight to Ibadan. All right. So, and then the third one is that it improves planning and learning. You know, you learn on it. I mean, the grants we've had, we had to learn and learn and learn and learn, and we're still learning. But you know, for every time we now go back to take more grants, you know, we are better, we are improving. By the way, yes. So, all right. So this is a sample, you know, of a budget tracker. When in your budget tracker, like I said, you can use an Excel sheet as simple as that. You want to look at the planned amount. What did I say I'm going to use, the budget? And I remember that Femi Taiwo mentioned that when you already have your plan, you must look at your budget. You must budget for every expense. I mean, we ran into that, you know, for one of the projects where one of the grants rather that we're doing. I'm also a prison minister, and there is a project that I told you that it's about 2 years, 2 years now. No, six months ago that we started, and we're wrapping up in the next 18 months. And we want to bring the awareness of restorative justice as an alternative way of managing. So the people who are funding us, which is EU, the outcome is that they have looked at the number of awaiting trials. So they are saying that after your 2 years that they have funded you, right, in the next 3 years after, they want to see that that awaiting trial number drops. So when we were doing that, right, we didn't take note of some line items. So when we went back, you know, to ask them that, oh, we did not take note of this, sorry, it was sorry, you know. So we now have to now begin to look for money elsewhere to ensure that that project continues. So you have to look at your planned amount versus your actual amount. And then, of course, the variance. You want to know, am I shooting above the planned amount, or am I spending low? Funny enough, if you have international donors, if you are spending lower, very, very low, you know, to the amount, they will query it. There was a particular line item that we were not using, and they watched us for the first quarter. They didn't say anything. By the end of the second quarter, you know, they queried us that why are we not spending this money? Why are we not? Because it was in the budget that we are going to spend first quarter and we're going to spend second quarter. You know, so it's good for you to track this ahead of when they will also do what? Track it. So that's an example of a budget tracker. Activity tracker, this is interesting because I love colors, right? You know, so this just tells you, you know, in a pictorial view, your activity plan, what are you supposed to do? This was actually we're closing out on this particular project. That's why I can show it. We were um, hello, can anybody hear me? All right, because I saw my I saw my internet, it was loading. I was wondering that, I hope it's not. Yes, it's back. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I hope this is very good. Or do you want me to expand my screen, which is better? Admin, it is okay. Okay, that's fine. All right, that's good. Yeah, so like I said, your tracker, you have your activity name, your planned date, what are you supposed to do, for every event, and then your completion date, and then you have different color codes. So when you are moving, progressively, yes, it's there. But when you are stuck, you give it a color to alert that there is danger, because you have to complete that. And then, of course, you can also use Google Sheet. And like I said, there are apps that you can use. Yes. So, all right. And then, of course, the reporting calendar. So what does this do? For every money you collect under the grant, we're talking about grant management, right? Part of it is that you must give the donors your report. And these are the things you will have agreed. I'm sure they must have covered it. They must have agreed that they want to collect maybe weekly report. For instance, the one that is being funded by EU, for the restorative justice in the prison ministry, right? That they asked us for weekly report. They even gave us, the template. But the one we're doing with WIDB, there is no report. But because of our own accountability nature, we will always send reports for every milestone that we get. All right. So this is just giving you what you need to do in terms of reports. And there are two basic reports: narrative, that is what have you done, what are the activities and things like that. And then financial, how much have you spent? You understand? Because there are times that the grants come in phases based on your milestone, so you have to also let them know, I have spent this. Okay, and then right now I need to move into the second phase, of the project. And then, of course, this one just tells you, like a dashboard, right? So that anybody looking at it will know that, okay, this report is due so date, and it has been submitted. So if it has not been submitted, you won't put that color in there. And then somebody can actually say, there's something wrong somewhere. Why is this report not submitted? I think I did. I used the Excel sheet, just for you to know that these things can be done on an Excel sheet if you don't want to use the app. The first one talks about the budget tracker. You can see that. And then the second one, the activity tracker. You can see the activities, the status are there pending and who is responsible for it actually. And then, of course, the third one, which is the reporting calendar, which has to do with the report. Is it the narrative one which talks about the activities, or is it the financial one which talks about the way you have spent their money? All right. Okay. So, focus 3. Budget, execution, and modifications. All right, so if you are still with me, I'd like you to say yes. And if you are not with me, just say no. I'd like to know if you are still with me. If you are still with me, just say yes in the comment section so that I will know. Yes, 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 yes. I'm waiting. Yes, thank you, Praise. Thank you, Praise. Thank you, Sebastian, Michelle. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, all right, good. So we are good to go. Aisha, Judge, Ismail, I missed the name, Zeleke, if I pronounce it very well. Thank you for being with me. All right, so the focus 3 is the budget execution and modification. Mind you, we are talking about how do we manage, the grants. And, we're also talking about the implementation phases. Now, so one of the things that you must also know when it comes to budget, there are times that what you have budgeted, it actually happens to us. This particular grant that we are in right now, that is being funded by EU, we had submitted the proposal about 6 months towards the time. Was it 6 months? About 8 months towards the time, that they actually disburse the first tranche. And you imagine what that means for us in Nigeria. It was not stable in terms of cost of living. A particular one was, we're supposed to have sensitization programs. We're supposed to use, top rated hotels, because we are bringing in the chief judge, attorney, people in the ministry, the lawyers, the stakeholders, and then people in the correctional center, the police. It's a sensitization program. But by the time we wanted to start implementing, prices have jumped up. We could not, the snacks, we budgeted 3K. Where are you going to get 3K snacks? So what did we have to do? We have to, which I will get back to it, I think is on the next slide. We had to sit back with them, we had to tell them what our challenges are. And they, incidentally, they are also in Nigeria, so they also understand. However, I want to also say this, that as at the time we were doing our budget, we took care of inflation, but we did not take care of inflation 100%. If you understand what I mean, because we had envisaged that things will increase, but we never knew that things are going to skyrocket, to that. Of course, you all know what the inflation rate is now. We're talking about 22.2% right now. So spending against budget, why must you look at these things? It's good for you to stay within budget and detect overspending early. So if you are supposed to have spent 500K and you are looking at it and you see that you have spent 600K already, that sends a signal. You need to go back and begin to look at it. What can I do to reduce this? We also got, into that mode, particularly the WIDB one, where we're training people, and found out that, a particular line item was skyrocketing, right? So what would we do? We now have to begin to look for partners, to sponsor us so that they can take that hot off us. All right, so let's move on. So this is when you have to adjust, because we also had to adjust at some point. Now, when you are going through, the onboarding, and then you're having meetings with them, these are things that you must request. You want to find out that in the case of this grant, this grant period, peradventure, some amounts, skyrocket and things like that. Can we come back? They will actually tell you what their policy, can afford. Some will say no. Some will say, well, bring it. Let's look at it. If it's something that we can actually, get an approval for. But more often than not, the international donors, they will say, you know what, just sort yourself out, because they already locked it and they locked it. But however, they find a way, because let me use this, our own practical example. When we realized that a particular line item, and it was very obvious that we cannot go on in terms of logistics, transport, because we are working in 8 states in Nigeria. And you can imagine when people are moving in and out and all that. So hotels, welfare, airfare. It was crazy, can I use that word? So we had to sit down with them, and then of course they now asked us to go back and look at, probably there are some other line items that we have not spent all that we needed to spend, but we had to request for approval. So we couldn't just go and say, oh yeah, spend. In fact, if for the international donors you can, because there is a portal, you are reporting everything into it. All your invoices are going into it. So even when you spend something that was not in the budget, they will reject it. And then they will tell you that, sorry, this one, they are not paying it, right? And at times they can be very, very brutal. They can tell you to refund if you do not comply with the policy. Yeah. So this, you must know that if you have asked them their policy and they said, yes, we can look at it, whatever you want to do, seek the approval first. They might not increase the budget, but they can move things around. But you must do what? Get approval. You must get approval, and you must justify. We're talking about the cash flow management. Cash flow management, this is where, it's like your blood. Your blood has to flow, to live. For you to execute a project, you must have money. You must have cash, right? You must have cash to execute the project. So that means that from the time of you developing it, you must know when you need the money, and you must be calculative and intentional about it, because they're going to ask, for how do you want these monies to go in? How do you want these monies to go in? And then at times, you might not get everything right. So even for you as a person, you must have a backup plan. If not, you will run into issues. I think I saw someone put project buffer money. Yes, T. Bengal, thank you very much for that. So at times, for instance, in our own case, we were a bit slow in moving from quarter one to quarter two. So in quarter two, because we had not put in all the invoices for quarter one, right? They did not sign us off, to get quarter two. But meanwhile, there were some activities that we had started doing in quarter two, but they could not give us our money for quarter two. Why? Because we did not plug in some invoices. And it was because, as at that time, the accountant that was there, you know, had to get used to the policies, and you have to do requisition, your procurement policy, get 3 quotations, and a whole lot was moving that we just have to say, what, let us even understand what we are doing. But activities of the second quarter was going. So what did we do? We had to get the backup plan, like Bengu said. Okay, Bengu says I have a question. So maybe the admin will note those questions down so that we can take it. Yes, we can take it. Yeah, it says as a separate. Okay, so that I will not be distracted. I believe that the admin will take those questions, and then we can take that. All right. All right. So this is a question. I want to know if people are with me. Once you receive a grant, can you just adjust your budget as you like? Yes or no? Yes or no? You have received the money, so you can adjust the budget anyhow. Yes or no? I want to know if people are with me. Or have I left you at the bus stop? So where are you? Where are you? Once you receive a grant, can you adjust the budget as you like? Thank you. Yes, Bella says no, absolutely. No, you can't. You just can't. You've got to sit down with them, and you don't have to make yourself as if you don't understand things, because they're also looking at you. I remember even in the recap, everything you do, they are looking at you. Are you professional? So if you keep coming and keep saying that, oh, you did not factor this, you did not factor this, at some point, for the international donors, they might strike you out. They might not even consider you the next time. I'm sure they must have talked to you about warm calls and cold calls. There are some that once you have done a project with them and they are happy with the way you have reported and all that, anytime there is money, they will call on you. They will not even advertise. Yeah. So let's move on. Yeah. Questions? Are there questions? I think there were 1 or 2 questions. Let's see if you can quickly pick them up. I have a question around the budget, please. How do we factor in project management costs? Can you put this in your initial? Oh, yes. Yes. However, I must say this. I'm not done with my slide. Yeah. So please, because I see that you're taking the slide off, however, you must find out in terms of their policy. In fact, by the time you are looking through, the RFP and all that, they will tell you that, okay, this project, they are not funding administrative costs. or they will fund 30% of your salaries, right? For instance, the WIDB that we are doing, they are funding, the project management team, and it was there, right? But the one we're doing with for the restorative justice, because it's under prison ministry, and they expect prison ministry to run their offices. So they said, you know what? For those who are going to be working on this project, we are only going to do what? We're only going to take 30% of their salary. So 70% is yours. So you cannot load everything into it. So based on their policy and their setting, you probably want to find out. So if they say yes, project management fee, they will fund, yes, please put it there. In fact, there are some funds that if you don't put it there, they will want to find out, how do you want to survive? That means in their mind, they believe that somewhere along the line you have inflated those budget lines and you want to take money out of it. So you need to find out, from them, what their policy is. All right, so let's move on. I don't know how many minutes I have. Okay, 15 more minutes. That's fine. We're doing great. All right, so focus number 4, donor reporting requirements. So with this, I've mentioned about reporting. We have the narrative report, which talks about your progress of events and things like that. You have the financial report, which talks about actual budget, and it's good for you to know, to track this thing. You don't have to wait for them to track it. And then, of course, you also need to know, will this be done weekly, monthly, half year, whatever it is? You have to decide that. And you also have to find out what the donor wants. You have to find out what the donor wants. Then for the narrative report, this just talks to you about the event, what were the approved objectives. You highlight your achievements, your success stories. You have to be very clear, and then of course you use data, you use your attendance. Like for us now, one of the things they said that you must be key, we must always submit for every event we have. They want to see the attendance list, and they said for every event we must have the male, we must have the female, and then we must also have those that come from the otherwise advantage, because they believe in inclusion community. All right, so financial report, this is clear. I don't have to sell eyes, to Eskimos. You talk about your actual and your budget, and then peradventure you have foreign currencies. You have to convert it, but when you are reporting, you have to convert it back, because that is what makes sense to them. And then they'll actually tell you what they want, right? Yeah. So focus 5, monitoring and evaluation. Now, God will help, because this is where I sit for that one, but it's fine. When we talk about monitoring, what we're saying is that those day-to-day monitoring things that you do, you want to check, are we on track? And this is day-to-day, week-to-week. You want to check, is what we said we're doing, are we doing it? And if we said we are going to do something yesterday and we did not do it, you want to find out, why didn't we do it yesterday? Because what you did not do yesterday will come after you, and at the end of the day it will come that, oh, you ought to have done it last month or last week. So evaluation is what the periodic assessment. This is not day to day. So you look at it, are we looking at it on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, or is it mid-project, or whatever it is? You have to decide that. And then of course you also have to look at what the funders know. So when you want to do evaluation, what are you assessing? You are assessing the effectiveness, the efficiency, the relevance, right? And then, of course, sustainability. This one is very key. I told you that for those who are given money, they are coming after you for impact. But as they are coming after you for impact, they are also looking that if we don't fund you for the next 2 years or 3 years, would you still be able to sustain this project? So they expect you. In fact, there are some reports that they will tell you that, what's your sustainability plan. So they expect that, okay, this one, they're helping you, but while you are helping you, you are also looking at some things that can generate money out of it. And then, like I said, impact. All right, so what does monitoring assess? Input, activity, output, timelines, budget, and early results. All right, so what are the other key monitoring things that you need to take about? Compliance, very key. Your risk issues, and then the participation. It's about impact, social impact, and then the quality of your work, because that is what will make them to say, okay, I want to come back and give you more money, right? And then what are the tools that you need to use? These are the tools. I'll put it there. But like I said, Google Forms, Excel sheets. But if there is advanced and things like that, yes, you can go for apps. And then for some of the international donors, like the one for Ida I was talking about, they already have their portal. They will come, they will take you through the portal where you are going to upload all the receipts, where you're going to upload this, and then they will approve and all that. So some do have that. All right. So yes, this looks so small, but I mean, this is just talking about the key monitoring and evaluation tools that you must have. And they are pretty things that the M&E, activity reports, your budget and actual, the things that I've mentioned. This is just to tell you what tools you have. All right, so I'm not too sure I will be able to do this exercise. I wanted to do this exercise. I wanted to check who is in the class. If you always track activities, on a daily basis, if you are the one that checks budgets and spending at least once a month, yes. And then if you have reported outcomes or income, but like I said, I am not too sure I will be able to do that. Yes, so the last one, and we are good to go. Risk management and compliance checks. When we talk about risk management, what are we trying to say? What we are saying is that we should note that anything can go wrong. And you must have it at the back of your mind that what will be the effect? Will it be mild? Will it have great impact? Right? You must think about this. In fact, there are some donors that are very critical about that. They will ask you for your risk policy, risk management policy, and then they will also tell you to come up with your shift, because we had to do that. I mean, they are dealing with Nigerians. It wasn't about integrity or whatever it is, but they know that government can come up today and change policy. You understand? Anything can happen, which is a risk. Right. So they want to know, is it going to be mild or is it going to have an heavy impact? If it's going to be mild, what are your shock absorbers? If it's going to have heavy impact, what are your shock absorbers? All right. So examples of common risk: financial, spending, unapproved items. They want to know, if you do this, what's going to happen? And they're not going to pay back. I remember there was a particular a line item. They told us categorically that it was not in our budget and they're not going to pay for it. They were not going to pay for it. And it's social media. We forgot totally. Totally. So it was not there. So what did we do? It has to be our contribution. Yeah. So procurement fraud, ghost beneficiaries, weak documentation, and things like that, which you already know. Compliance checks. When we say compliance, what do we mean? In simple terms, you want to check yourself. Are you doing what you promised? The way you said you are going to do it, and within the boundaries. It's compliance. So you want to check these things. You want to know, what did we say we were going to do? How are we going to do it? And when are we going to do it? And then, of course, you also check this. All these things, the donors are going to look, particularly international donors. That's why at times you might not know why they rejected. And in fact, I'm sure it must have been covered, particularly when you are writing grants. Maybe they said your request for proposal or something, they've sent it to you and they said, okay, first send us a 2-page document. and you, Efiko, you sent 4 pages, I can tell you that as they are collecting it, they are not even going to read it, they are going to dump it. Or they tell you that you must use this particular font, you must use this, you must PDF it, you must upload it here, it must not be this size. If you go outside of that, they will not even look at it. They will just dump it because one, compliance. Right. So compliance is very key. I'm sure they must have been covered when you want to write proposal. Please study it. That is why we have some people that they have a dedicated project or a grant donor master or something. It is a full-time job. You study it, except if you want to know the small donors or that one, no wahala. You can do that. All right, so what do compliance checks cover? Your budget compliance, your activity compliance, your procurement compliance, your documentation compliance, financial compliance, reporting compliance. All these things are very important. And then, of course, your contractual compliance. Do you know that we had to change a contract twice? Because the very first time we thought it will go through. By the time it went through the system, they rejected it. They had to say, no, this contract that we have with our consultants, it will not pass it. So we had to ask them, what exactly do you want? So it was when we now met with them, they now explained what they wanted. We now had to do the prayer. And do you know what they wanted? In our own case, we just said we are going to pay this contract. Okay, so those who are going to work for me, M&E, those who do the analysis, they will do the production, the reporting, and all that. So it wasn't how much this person is going to be taking per day. How many hours will the person be using per day? And how much the person. So we had to now do a spreadsheet to tell you that, okay, this particular activity, it will take 4 days and they're going to spend 2 hours on it. This one will take 1 week and they're going to spend 5 hours on it. And they want us to tell them how much is it, so you have to understand contractual compliance, regulatory compliance. Okay, common pitfalls in grant execution. Then I think I am done. Yes, I think we are doing good. Yeah, we are doing good. We are doing good. Yes, so what are the common pitfalls in grant execution? Underspending or overspending. It shows that you are not on top of what you have done. You have not done a good budget. They can understand 10%, 20% variance, but when you begin to talk about 40, 50, particularly international donors, they will be wary of you that. So that means you are not a detailed person. I cannot trust you with my money. You understand? So because they expect that when you are sitting down, you have to account for inflation. You should know your country, right? Yeah. So like I said, because we are not God, we are only moving towards perfection. So they can allow that, but what they will actually tell you is that they have approved this budget and then there are some that have human feelings. If you're able to justify and they have the money, they can. But I know that more often than not, they will tell you it has been signed and it has been signed. You can only move things around based on their approval. And there are some they will say no. So we have ignoring donor rules. Branding, yes, I would love to talk about this, particularly the one for EU. Do you know that they told us, because they had to call us to tell us their rules, their marshal and things like that. They said this there, the EU, and they are working with IDEA. So it's EU is funding it through IDEA. IDEA is in Nigeria. That there are 2 logos. They gave us their brand colors. And they told us that if it moves, it shifts, they will come and tell us to stop that program. In my brain, I was saying that, how would you know? I don't know how they know. Maybe there's a sensor somewhere. I don't know. But they actually told us a particular case that happened, that the person ignored it and went to do one color or whatever. They got to know. And they had to come to say they're going to stop that program because that is not their program. Why? Because their brand is not properly done. So please, you have to really, really understand their branding policies, and things like that. I mean, you just have to ask. There's no stupid question. It's better you ask those stupid questions, before you enter into it, and then they stop the project halfway. And probably meanwhile, you have actually asked some vendors that you have relationship to say, you know what, supply these things on credit, and they're saying they have the right to stop. Why? Because you did not meet the obligations. So please, you have to know about these things. Poor beneficiary feedback mechanism, lack of internal controls. I mean, that is big. They also want to know your controls. They want to know your internal control policies, particularly for the big donors. Yes, they want to know because they will ask you for all your policies. But for those who give small grants, it's okay. They might not really ask. But for those who do big grants, they're going to ask you for all your policies, even up to your HR policies. So that's that. So in wrapping up, even if you have not stepped into that role before, or you have not done anything in the grant office, right? For the mere fact that you are here, you must have learned one or two things that you can even use in your office, in your duty, or in your schedule. And for those who are already working in that role, whatever it is, through the value chain, maybe you are the one who reports, or you are the one who writes proposals, or you are the one who searches, or whatever it is, or you are the one that executes, whatever you are doing. I'd like you to tell me one thing that you are taking home that you want to apply immediately from today's session. So I am waiting, and then we can take questions. Okay. Yes, Emma says increase in fuel is related to changes in commodity prices. What happens with the budget at hand? Yes, like I said, if they're not willing to increase that budget, they will actually tell you that will be part of your own contribution. And more often than not, they don't expect that they will fund 100% of the project. They also want to know your own contribution. What are you contributing? More often than not, you will say, oh, you are contributing the office space, you are contributing vehicle, you are contributing human resources, and things like that, So they will just tell you outright that, sorry, you got to sort yourself out. And for some, like I said, if you sit with them, they can. But bottom line is, at the start, once you see that they are coming and they're engaging with you, ask all the questions you can ask. Okay. Yes, T says pay more attention to funders' requirement. Absolutely. Some are finicky to the extent that they will tell you the font size. And if they see that you are using another size, they will not even read it. They will just drop it. Meanwhile, you will not know why. With all the work I have done, compliance. So you have to take your time to read what they want. Some will say, oh, it's a 2-page document. Some will say, give us a 1-page document first. And then you are now using big volume. They will just carry it. They will not even read it. They will just drop it. Yes, it says, okay, nothing. All right, so I'm waiting for the answers. Where are the answers? Where are the answers? What are you taking home? What are you taking home? I can hear it's a rainy season. I didn't catch. Okay, it looks as if some people are having issues with the internet. Yeah, yep. Compliance is key. Today, thank you. Compliance is very key, yes. And to be honest, let's look at it. Someone comes to you and says, give me X money to do a small project. Even you as an individual, there are some expectations that you are waiting to see. How that person spent it. Yesterday, I'm also a project director to an NGO. We talk about for women and for girls. Yesterday, I was with my sister, and she was telling me that somebody sent $3,000 to her, for the project. And of course, for me, I just said, okay, what we're going to do, we're going to do a report of how we spent that money to the least. We will tell her how much we converted it at that time, and we will tell her how much we spent. I said, because if I give somebody money, I am also waiting for you to come and give me feedback on how you spent that money. Yes, so Victor says, thank you. Yes, I received your thank you. I learned many things, especially the things that evaluation assesses. Absolutely. Tracking projects implementation improves planning and learning. Absolutely. Destiny says, it's great to know and learn and learn that no donor policy is small to be ignored. Absolutely. And yeah, I have learned a lot on winning. Thank you very much for that. So Abubakar says, I learned, okay, it's coming up. It's still coming up. I learned to think of backup plan. Absolutely. Absolutely. In case anything happens. Yes. At times the money might not come on time. And probably for those who are in the agri sector, you had said you are going to plant during the rainy season, and something happens, the money does not come, and then of course what happens? So by the time the money comes, rain has gone. Except if you want to do, irrigation, or you want to go into smart farming and things like that. Yes, I am a woman, 53 years old. Okay, Amira. Yes. So what are you trying to tell us? What are you trying to tell us? All right. Mohammed says, pay your donor back with. Absolutely. That is all what they want. If you go to the bank, you collect money, they will say, okay, you are going to pay interest, isn't it? And if you go, you want to have shareholders, they say, okay, I'm going to give you this equity. They'll come back and say, I'm going to give me dividends, or I'm going to have a shareholding in the company and all that. But anybody who is giving you money, grants, all what they are telling you, it is not free. I know we'll say it is free money. It is not free. They are coming back for impact. You are going to give them impact. Yes. Challenge to get the money. I don't understand. I don't understand. Amira, if you can explain better, that will be fine. Yes, I think I am good to go. Thank you very much. If there are still questions, I am here to take that. Yes, Judge says, I learned that it's best to always ask your donor questions and do not assume. Absolutely. Do not assume. Yes. Then Sunday is typing. He says, but in a situation where donors demand conflict with company policy, how do we address that, please? All right, okay, so let me share this. For some of you that know about prison ministry work, Prison Fellowship International is affiliated, Prison Fellowship Nigeria is affiliated to Prison Fellowship International, and we are Christocentric. And this particular job, this particular one, actually falls under restorative justice system that we also promote, but we have not been able to scale up. Right now, it's only Lagos State and Abuja that has restorative justice courts, right? All other states don't have. In fact, you'll be shocked that there are some lawyers that said they're not aware. And anybody from South Africa will know that restorative justice was Rwanda. The foundation of restorative justice was what was used for your Gracia cuts, during the Tutsi War and all that, um, so when they came in, and this is something that we want to do because we want to scale up. We want to reduce the awaiting trial numbers, right? So when they came in, and they were very upfront that, well, any policy that they see that you're quoting Bible, you're quoting scripture, go work. Go work. So the only thing we did not change was our what do you call it? Our company documents. No, we didn't change that. But in terms of our policies, I mean, anything that has to do with scripture, you can actually preach without, you can actually do righteous things without even putting the scriptures. So when it confronts to your policies, I am being sensitive, because Nigeria, as we speak, I know other countries, they are very open to the LGBTQ, whatever. Nigeria, we are still close up, and all that. So I'm a bit sensitive towards that. But I know that there are some grants that they will tell you that they are not adverse to LGBT. So anybody, but their beneficiaries, you will have to look at that. So it's up to you, either you to take it or not. And in fact, I remember when I was going through my own grant writing course, the our lecturer told us that there are some grants you should actually walk away with if it does not go with your faith, if it does not go with your policy, if it does not go with your values, you can actually walk away with it. And then even if it goes with your values, maybe the conditions are very stringent for you, you should actually walk away. Yes. It's good to understand what the project well before engaging with donors. Absolutely. Be honest during the implementation phase of your grant. Absolutely. Why I asked that question is because I work in a faith-based NGO. Yeah, that's it. So go look for donors that are very sympathetic, that are very friendly, to your faith, and you have them. And then, of course, let's face the brutal fact: there are some jobs, that has nothing to do with Christianity or whatever it is. Maternity kits. You don't have to go there and start quoting scriptures. What you want the women in this village to do what? To have maternity kits. What do you have to do and start quoting Bible, for goodness sake? So please, let's do the. I can see Fawaz laughing. All right, okay. So I think Fawaz is ready to take on. So I think I am good.
Thank you
Uh,
so much, wow. If you're not listening, would like to apologize for the network issue. It was unprecedented and it was not it's not our fault generally, but we hope that something better will come up when you have your recordings. Thank you so much, Ma, for everything. You mentioned a few things, a few points. We are still going to take some questions, but before that, you mentioned a few points and you're talking about Project Tracker. Now, it just reminds me of a project that I took on. Initially I was just upset that they said you have to track the project, we have to document this and that. It looked like so much work for me at the time, but now that you have explained all these things, seriously, it is really really clear for me. Then in calculating the your expenses and how you have to, break it down per when it has to be released, the funds should be released and all. You have to calculate it. I remember a story someone told me recently about an organization that had already overspent the money they were supposed to spend per time. And the organization asked them, show us what you have done, show us how much you have spent. And they had to be running to cover themselves and all. That's really, really terrible. Well, we'll come back to more of
I
the
got
other
you.
things I learned about it. Yes, ma. We'll take some questions now. And the first one says, if your internal evaluation shows that you are falling short or behind, to what extent do you relate to the external monitors?
Okay, so I want to believe that what he means by external monitors are the donors, right? Should we assume that?
I
Should we
think that
assume that?
should be it.
All right, okay. So
Yes.
that's why you have your trackers, right? And that's why you have your metrics. I mentioned all the metrics you have to do for your evaluation. Somebody has to be looking at it. You for the big money, even if it's a small money. Honestly, I think it's just the principle that somebody trusted me and gave me money to do a project. And I had mentioned it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for integrity, transparency, accountability sake. You understand? You put it there. Like I said, and that was why I showed you simple Excel sheet. So when you see that you are falling short, you need to have, okay, like I didn't mention that, but it's part of it that you must have meetings. There's a particular slide, probably I just skipped through it. You must have regular meetings. You must have regular meetings to say, where are we falling short? Why are we falling short? And what must we do? Who is responsible? Possibly the person does not even know what to do. Then you have to train, or you have to go and look for somebody. You know, like I told you that it happened to us in first quarter. So what we had to do, we had to quickly do a build internal capacity building training for everybody, because we just couldn't cope. And this is a 2-year project, you know. But we're good to go now. I mean, we are good to go because that is it. So if you are falling short, you have to evaluate why, how, who is responsible. And you have to face the brutal fact. If the person is not capable, well, it's either you replace or you build capacity, for that person.
Next question. What do you think about organizations that focus exclusively on M&E in collaboration with NGOs?
Yeah, I mean, if their forte is M&E, why not? It's they're in the value chain of donor management. Because to be honest, not everybody understands M&E work. Even when you understand it, for instance, but I can't do all the work myself. I can't, because you have to analyze, you have to transcribe. The people we are working with, and some of them, particularly for the awareness sensitization, some of them are locals, because they need everybody to understand what they're doing. So somebody who does not even have a smartphone, you can't give the person a Google form. So we had to print papers, you understand? And these papers have to be what translated to something that they can analyze. So it's a whole lot of work. So I know some people, in fact, I have a friend, that is what she does, M&E. That is what she does. That for any grant, just call her, she will
Nothing to
sit
say.
down and there and do that. Yeah. So it's fine. So it's fine.
Uh, as financial statement with funding organizations in response to RFPs.
All right. So this is it. So this is it. There are some organizations that request for it. And do you know why they're requesting for it? They want to know who you are. They want to know how you spend money. They want to know if you say you are doing projects and things like that. They want to see it. So if you hide, you are not helping yourself. I know some people do that, but to be honest, why are you hiding? Because I was in a class and somebody said, "Oh, and the reason why they manipulate, why they do creative bookkeeping is because they want them to fund everything. That if they don't do that creative thing, they will tell them that after all you are making money, so they're going to give you 50%." And I said, any serious thinking donor will not fund a project 100%. They will ask you what is your own contribution. They want to know what you are contributing. It could be office space, it could be what do you call it, vehicle, whatever it is. They want to know what you are contributing. But except if the donor organizations too are fraudulent. But if they are there for impact, they will expect. In fact, some of them will even tell you that they want to see your bank statements. Some will tell you they want to see your bank statement because they want to see how you are spending. So if they are looking at your bank statement and all they see is welfare, hotel, you are taking money, you are buying luxury bags, you are doing this, they will know that if they should commit their money to you, that is what you are going to. So it's share integrity and transparency. If truly you are for impact, except if, because we know that there are some NGOs that are just there to siphon money.
All right. The last question is, what would you do if you were implementing a civic engagement project in a state like Rivers State, Nigeria, that has had a lingering political impasse?
Thank you. So this is where, I talked about risk. Oh, this is where, if you know you are in that kind of terrain, then you must say that there are some elements of that project, maybe the execution of it, or maybe, yeah, it's more of the execution that, hey, that place, so maybe on Mondays they don't even go out, and then anything can happen, anywhere, crossfire, anything can happen that it will mar that. So you rate the risk very high, and then of course they will now ask you, okay, yes, you said it's very high, okay, so what's the backup plan? And then even for you, it makes you to begin to think that if it happens, what should I do? And then you now begin to think that, okay, what are the things that can happen? And in fact, when you are thinking, you can actually be creative. You can actually say, for instance, if you say, I'm going to train physically, I'm going to get them to come into the class. When you know that if anything happens, they cannot even come out, it can make you to begin to think that, okay, I think I'm going to put the learnings online. Okay, but these people don't have devices, or they don't even know how to go use the smartphone. Then you can now begin to say, okay, I'm going to train them. So you can see that from you solving one problem, you have identified another problem that you can solve. So at the end of the day, even if anything happens, you are training online. You can see the effect of COVID, where everybody, is online now. It's a norm. I mean, when you are insisting on physical, they'll say, physical. You understand? So that's it. I hope that answers your question. Is there a freeze somewhere? Admin, can you hear me? I think Fawaz, from my own end.
Yeah, yes, I can hear you, Ma. I can hear you.
All right, that's fine.
So thank you so much for everything. This has been a brilliant session. Really, really brilliant. Thank you very much, Ma. I hope you all have listened and understood. Of course, in the Telegram group, we're going to definitely be answering some of these questions as well. But for now, I want to say thank you so much, ma'am, and it was good having you with us. You really did justice to this particular topic, and we hope to have you again. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. So there's a question, you want to take that in your Telegram group? Would you take that in your Telegram group, or you want me to take that?
Oh, okay. Yes, we will take some of the questions in the Telegram group, and yes, we'll handle them. You can okay, let's just take it. It says, I noticed funding a school isn't usually successful. Why is that, please?
All right, okay. So it depends on what your motive is, right? I don't think somebody will give you money to start a school from zero, to finish, because it's a whole lot of money. It's a whole lot of money that you need. You're talking about the infrastructure, you're talking about the teachers, you're talking about, all the other things. You're the bills, you're paying this and all that. I doubt if you will get someone that will say, this is what I am going to give you. So at times when we write, when we write, we assume that that money will be enough for it. So when they now disburse the money based on what we have written, we now find out that when we want to execute, it's not, because you already have said that when they give me this money, I will be able to do this and this and this. But meanwhile, in the proposal, that is not what you wrote. Then secondly, I've said it that they are also looking for sustainability. That, okay, if we give you the money to do the building, we want to be sure that the children that are coming, the monies you are going to be collecting from them in terms of what the school fees, will be able to sustain you and also do what? Carry you on. So when they look at those figures, when they see that this thing, they gel, they will not. So it starts from what you want to achieve, and what they also want to do. So you need to agree. If it's the building that you want them to fund, then talk about the building. But like I tell you, they want to know that if I do this building, are you sure it's going to be useful? Right? So that you don't be that the first time people will come in, and then second time there is no money. You understand? So I think that answers the question, except if there is another area that is specific that you probably share in the Telegram group. Because to be honest, for schools like in Nigeria, most of them barely, they just break even. It's really, really not profitable, like that, except maybe those who are charging a whole lot, because there's a whole lot of components in school administration. The teachers are on for 9 months and you have to pay them for 12 months. You are going to run your bills, you are going to do infrastructure repairs, and things like that. So it's a whole lot. And then of course the parents, looking at the cost of living, some of them will even owe you for 1 month, 2 months. So you have to look at that. The most important thing is, where do you want the donor to fund? Look at something sustainable, that money, when the donor gives it to you, particularly probably you want them to fund a lab or a library, things like that. I believe that if you approach the right people, because you also need to know, I'm sure they must have covered it, you also need to know the taste of people. There are some people, all what they want to fund is education. So if you come and tell them that you are funding maternity center, they won't answer you. So you also need to do research on what these people want. And there are some, they're just looking for maternity center. And you come, you say, oh, they are out of school children, you want to bring them. They will just be looking at you like this, because it is not their forte. So you also need to research on what they want and give it to them what they want. Thank you.
This one is for the visionaries, the builders, the change makers. Welcome to the funding farm. From Lagos to Nairobi, Accra to Kigali, we together to unlock destiny. No more guessing, we got the key. The further fund, they show the strategy. Grants, donations, corporate giving, everything we need, we go start winning. Proposal game, now we did deliver, because we understand the funding formula. The funding formula. Turn your vision to reality. The funding formula. Clarity, confidence, and strategy are the funding formula For African arts, we dey pave the way. The funding formula. Let the whole world hear us say. We know the guesswork, we dey plan well. Build foundation, let the truth swell. We know donors and how them they move. Alignment steady, we dey groove. Thank you to the speakers when they show. This movement go, they last forever. Together we ride, never say never. The funding formula, no confusion, just a method. The funding formula, no more hustle without results. The funding formula, vision go fly, we get support. The funding formula, Africa rise, we hold the fort. We help the people rise. The further fail, who will show us how to climb. The funding formula, we need to build and shine. The funding formula, time we go to grind. The funding formula, who they help the people rise. The further fail, who will show us how to climb. The formula, the funding formula, what we need to build and shine. The funding formula, yeah. Every time we go to grind. The funding formula, the funding formula, oh yeah. We go rise, no fear. Africa to the world, this is the new frontier. Now the further firm, they lead us to success. Ladies and gentlemen, across Africa and beyond, this one is for the visionaries, the builders, the change makers. Welcome to the funding formula. From Lagos to Nairobi, Accra to Kigali, we they gather to unlock destiny. No more guessing, we got the key. The further from they show the strategy. Grants, donations, corporate giving, everything we need, we go start winning. Proposal game, now we did deliver, because we understand the funding formula. The funding formula. Turn your vision to reality, the funding formula. Clarity, confidence and strategy, the funding formula. For African arts, we dey pave the way, the funding formula. Let the whole world hear us say. We know the guesswork, we dey plan well. Build foundation, let the truth swell. We know donors and how them they move. Alignment steady, we dey groove. Thank you to the speakers when they show. This movement go, they last forever. Together we ride, never say never. The funding formula, no confusion, just a method. The funding formula, no more hustle without results. The funding formula, vision go fly, we get support. The funding formula, Africa rise, we hold the fort. We help the people rise. The further fail, who will show us how to climb. The funding formula, we need to build and shine. The funding formula, time we go to grind. The funding formula, who they help the people rise. The further fail, who will show us how to climb. The formula, the funding formula, what we need to build and shine. The funding formula, yeah. Every time we go to grind. The funding formula, the funding formula, oh yeah. We go rise, no fear. Africa to the world, this is the new frontier. Now the further firm, they lead us to success.